Ferrari used to represent the best of us. Ferrari had people who'd never even sat in one thinking about them all day. Kids who couldn't afford a Ferrari poster are drawing prancing horses in the corners of their notebooks. And it didn't stop there. You have grown adults who never even touched a Ferrari steering wheel that were now spending their entire paychecks on a Ferrari hat or a wallet or even a keychain. Anything that could remind them of that sleek red silhouette. That was the magic of Ferrari. You didn't have to own one to love it, because the dream of owning one was enough. But today, that dream feels different. Not because Ferrari forgot how to make fast cars, but because they stopped making cars that capture us. True story here. About a year ago, I was in my C8 Z06 convertible, Z07 package, sweet spec if I do say so myself, driving down Deco Drive in South Beach. And right behind me was an $850,000 Ferrari 812 Superfast, a beautiful car. But as we rolled down Ocean Drive, I looked around and every pair of eyes was on the Corvette. Granted, the Z06 was new at the time, but still, how can everyone with lined up cameras be taking pictures of a Corvette when there's a Ferrari right behind you? That's what I mean when I say things have changed. Ferrari used to be the event, the moment, the car that owned the room without even trying. Now it's just another face in the crowd. Ferrari used to shape culture, but now it just feels like it's chasing it. Back then, Ferrari didn't build cars, they built monuments. The 360 Modena, the 430 Scudiera, and of course, the 458 Italia. These weren't just machines, they were emotions on wheels. Cars that made you fall in love with driving. Not because of their numbers, but because of how they made you feel. Naturally aspirated engines that screamed like opera singers. Designs by Pininfarina that looked like rolling art. Interiors that wrapped around you like a glove, every switch and sound reminding you this was a car built by people who cared. That was Ferrari's DNA. Passion, elegance, and emotion. They could have chased trends, but instead, they set them. From the F355 to the 458 Italia, Ferrari's cars were pure and unfiltered. And then, something changed. Ferrari ended its decades-long partnership with Pininfarina and brought design in-house. The 488 GTB, the F8 Tributo, the 296 GTB, they're faster, they're smarter, they're cleaner, but the curves got sharper and the sound got quieter and the soul started to fade. The naturally aspirated shriek turned into a turbo whoosh, and the raw steering feel gave way to drive modes and electric assists. These new cars are unbelievable on paper, sure, but that's the problem. They feel like they were built for the paper. The 458 Speciale had 597 horsepower and hydraulic steering. No hybrid, no filters, just fury. But the 296 GTB has 819 horsepower and technology from the future, yet every single time I'm talking about the older car instead of the new one. Somewhere between the 458 and the SF90, they traded emotion for efficiency, magic for metrics. And that's the part that hurts most, because nobody used to do emotion better than Ferrari. If you really want to understand how Ferrari lost its way, you've got to look at the cars themselves, and more specifically, where the magic ended. And for me, that cutoff point was the 458 Italia. That car was it. The peak. And when it came out, it shut everything down. The sound, the design, the engine. It was like Ferrari had found the perfect balance between beauty and madness. Everyone wanted to get their hands on one. It was the last Ferrari that felt inevitable, like this is the best car in the world. Then came the 488, and to be fair, it was still incredible, but it wasn't the same. It was faster, sure, but the purity was gone. That naturally aspirated V8 that screamed to 9,000 RPM was replaced by a turbocharged setup that sounded like progress. You could feel Ferrari trying to prove something with numbers instead of feelings. Then came the F8 Tributo, A beautiful car, but essentially the same one again. It felt like Ferrari had reached the ceiling of its own formula and didn't know where to go next. By the time we got to the 296 GTB and the SF90, it became clear. Ferrari hadn't forgotten how to engineer greatness. They'd forgotten how to translate it into feeling. These cars are faster than anything they've ever built, but you drive them and instead of goosebumps, you feel silence. You get respect, not love. There was a time when every Ferrari flagship went up in value. The F40, the Enzo, the LaFerrari, these were sacred. Owning one wasn't about owning a car, it was owning a piece of history. But then came the SF90 Stradale, Ferrari's most powerful car ever, nearly 1,000 horsepower, a hybrid system that could launch it like a spaceship, and on paper, it was a masterpiece. But in reality, you can now pick one up used for nearly half of its original sticker price. Cars that were $950,000 are now selling for $500,000. That's unheard of, especially for Ferrari. And Ferrari tried to brush it off. The market's just normalizing, they said. But no, it's not. And definitely not for them. When your Halo car is losing half of its value in a few years, that's not normalization. That's the market losing faith. It used to be impossible to find a Ferrari sitting unsold. And now there are whispers that for certain models, the waitlists aren't even real anymore. That some dealers are desperately trying to move cars. And that sentence alone would have been unthinkable 5 years ago. But the truth is, this isn't just about depreciation, this is about desire. Ferrari's greatest asset was never performance, it was permanence. And for the first time in decades, that permanence is starting to crack. Because it's not just about cars, it's the culture around them. Ferrari used to own aspiration, but now ask a young car enthusiast what they buy if money were no object, and I almost never hear Ferrari. I hear Lambo, I hear McLaren, and I even hear Corvette. Cars that are all loud, raw, expressive, the kind of energy that Ferrari used to be known for. The C8 Corvette Z06, the upcoming ZR1X, these cars are embarrassing Ferraris in performance for a fraction of the price. But that's not the point, right? It's that they're capturing imagination. The kids who used to have posters of the F40 now have posters of a ZR1X. That's not just a marketing win for Chevrolet, it's a cultural loss for Ferrari. It's a generational handoff of passion, and Ferrari just let it happen. Okay, so part of it is visibility. Lamborghini lets influencers and gamers drive their cars, mod them, make memes out of them, and Ferrari, on the other hand, guards their image like a museum piece. If someone wraps a 458 in a meme or something crazy, Ferrari sends a lawyer instead of a camera crew. And in a world that runs on authenticity and content, that just makes them look out of touch. And then there's the attitude. Ferrari used to be mysterious in like a cool way, and now it's just mysterious in a corporate way. Exclusive, controlling, and disconnected. The brand that once represented passion now just feels like it's managed by accountants and PR reps. Here's the truth. People don't just buy cars anymore, they buy stories. They want to feel like they're part of something, and right now, Ferrari isn't inviting anyone in. Ferrari's still respected, sure, but it's not relatable. It's not the dream that it used to be. And when a brand built on desires starts feeling like a corporation, it loses something that no amount of horsepower can buy. Then there's how Ferrari treats its fans, the people that actually love them the most. You'd expect that when you buy a special Ferrari, you're part of something, but instead, many owners feel like they're entering a club with hidden rules. You can't just walk in and buy the special model you want. Usually there's a list of prerequisites. You've got to have a history of purchases, you've got to engage with the dealer or the brand, and sometimes you're even filtered by loyalty. One Reddit user even wrote, "There are people like Shmi who took 3 cars on hand for them to get allocated an SF90. Well, I've heard of a user on Ferrari chat that took 20 years of regular purchases in order to get a pista allocation. And then there's the modification gate. You want to wrap your Ferrari, like we said, you want to upgrade your wheels, you want to make it yours? Well, in some cases, you're going to get a legal letter from Ferrari instead of support. The message becomes, we own the brand more than you do. This is the kind of gatekeeping that used to be tolerated when the product was untouchably magical, when every flagship Ferrari held value, and every new model inspired awe. But when the crown starts to slip, when your top models are depreciating, when the dream isn't quite as vivid, but you still behave like the sovereign of the supercar world, people notice and they start to resent you for it. Because when the product no longer feels like a gift, well, exclusivity feels like a tax. This isn't a rant about cars, it's about what happens when a legend forgets what made it legendary. Ferrari was never supposed to be just another luxury badge. It represented something bigger than profit margins and quarterly reports. It stood for the pursuit of perfection, not the pursuit of prestige. Because when Ferrari loses its way, it doesn't just hurt Ferrari, it hurts everyone. When the greatest name in car culture loses its spark, the entire supercar world dims with it. And whether you love them or not, Ferrari sets the tone. They're the standard, the flagship of passion. And if you think it can't happen to them, just look around. Maserati was once elegance on wheels. Gran Turismos, Quattroportes, cars that really felt like Italian charm. But then they chased volume, built cheaper sedans, and launched SUVs. They traded soul for sales. And what happened? Well, reliability dropped, reputation followed, and within a decade, sales plummeted 50%. The name that once symbolized class became a punchline. And Jaguar has a similar story, a brand that was built on beauty and grace. And the E-Type was once called the most beautiful car ever made. And now Jaguar is spamming reset, trying to reinvent itself after years of identity crisis, chasing BMW one decade and Tesla the next. It turns out even legends can lose the plot, and Ferrari is not immune. Because no matter how iconic the badge, no brand survives long after it stops inspiring people. The world doesn't need Ferrari to chase numbers. It never did. We need Ferrari to chase meaning, the kind that reminds us why we fell in love with cars in the first place. Because when Ferrari is great, it lifts the entire culture with it. It makes every car maker dream bigger. It makes every kid dream bigger. But if Ferrari forgets that, if they forget who they are, if they trade soul for spreadsheets, we lose more than a car company. We lose a symbol. And if they let that go, if a giant like that falls, it's not just their loss. It's the moment car culture itself starts to stall. When the passion that built this world starts to downshift into silence. So this isn't just about Ferrari finding their way back. It's about all of us hoping that they do. Because if Ferrari rises again, the entire world of driving rises with it. Thanks for watching.